Hi there guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm here with a Before the 90 Days special. I'm sure all of you guys are aware by now that Jesse Meester, Darcey's ex, makes a surprise appearance on the tell-all for the end of the season. We do know he shows up, and we also know that Tim Malcolm confronts him and asks him, why are you even here? Do you not think that you being here is going to mess up Darcey's new relationship? And Tim calls him selfish and says you're sitting here still crying about what happened seasons ago, and you being here will only make things worse for Darcey. And I couldn't agree anymore. Well said, Tim. It probably hasn't escaped your attention that Ebird is a Darcey sympathiser. Yes, I said it, I like me some Darcey, but I think at heart she's just a girl who wants love, and unlike a lot of other people on the show, I think she's very upfront about who she is. Yes, Darcey has her faults, but while sometimes she's uncomfortable to watch, I really don't feel that she's malicious in anything she does or any of her actions. So one of the main reasons I wanted to do this video is because Jesse Meester is acting as if he's been vindicated now because his former flame Darcey Silva seems to be unravelling with a completely new guy on Before the 90 Days, and he's more or less saying, see, I told you she was mad and I was perfect all along. No, Jesse, we all accept that Darcey has her problems, and I'm sure Darcey would accept that too. That, however, does not absolve you from your poor behaviour, and it also does not mean that you were right all along. You were still a gaslighter and you were still a clout chaser. But what's unbelievable to me is the fact that just a couple of months ago you were saying that you'd had to hire a lawyer to stop Darcey talking about you, harassing you and stalking you. And Jesse said on Instagram, never in my life I imagined dealing with the abuse, lies and misery she sucked me into. Currently she's still stalking me in the middle of the night. She needs help. And he continues, I'm glad it's not my problem anymore, but she still uses my name, defamation and stalk me, which might end up in a lawsuit soon. The time of me feeling sorry for her has passed, and she keeps going on, using and manipulating people. Yeah, right, Jesse. So given all of this, it seems so surprising to me that Jesse then turns up on the tell-all at the end of the season. So I think that Jesse clout chases and gets extra promotion for his businesses by continually lying about, antagonising and gaslighting Darcey. And this video is going to analyse step by step every different way in which Jesse has used Darcey and used his connection with her to promote himself, to promote his business and to clout chase. This whole season Jesse has done nothing but reference Darcey, reference Tom and try as much as he can to keep the drama going. Jesse seems not to know fact from fiction, so this video is going to cover the top instances of fibbing and gaslighting by Jesse to Darcey. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. If you haven't already, please don't forget to click that red button, press subscribe for regular updates, and when the season of Before the 90 Days finishes, I'm going to be reviewing season 7 of 90 Day Fiance, so there's no reason to go anywhere. So buckle up and let me give you my body of evidence for Jesse Meester the clout chaser. So Jesse and Darcey's relationship was problematic right from the start, and they had a very contentious breakup, and this was shown throughout their time on Before the 90 Days. So the first fib that Jesse told was how he and Darcey first met, and they both had significantly varying stories on how this occurred. Darcey said they met on a dating app, but Jesse tries to intimate they didn't meet on a dating app at all and that they met on a networking app when Darcey reached out to him and said, hey there, I want to be on a TV show with you. Now that doesn't sound very realistic to me. Jesse swears blind that at that point in his life he'd never used a dating app. Well, at least I guess if he's swearing blind. The upside of that is if he does actually go blind, he'll no longer be able to see the clothes that his parents wear. However, the networking app that Jesse claims Darcey contacted him on was called Inner Circle. Now looking at Inner Circle, it says it's a selective dating app on its about page. Right, a networking app. That's an interesting take on it, Jesse, considering that Inner Circle themselves describe their own app as a dating app. Perhaps they don't know what they're selling and you do. But that's not all. When you look at Inner Circle, you can pay for an international selection. Now Jesse claims he was using this networking app because he was a personal trainer and he wanted to get more clients. But why pay extra for international? Who, Jesse, is going to fly from America all the way to Amsterdam to have a personal training session and then fly all the way back? How likely does that sound? So Jesse, you paid for an international dating app. So obviously you were open to dating internationally, and as far as I'm concerned, it clearly shows that he's not telling the truth about how he met Darcey. And I think the reason for this lie is that Jess is trying to convince everybody that Darcey never fancied him, never really liked him, and only wanted him to be on the show. And the second point I'd like to make is closely linked. Again, Jesse claims that Darcey contacted him via this networking app, and she straight away said, "I'd like to feature on this TV show with you," and he had no idea about this TV show. And he said, if you're head over heels in love, why do you need the cameras around? So let's take a listen to what Jesse actually said.
Like, let me be very clear. When I met her, I didn't know about the show. So, and she reached out to me through this networking app that I used, because back then I was still involved in a lot of personal training. So that's how I, was getting clients. And then it was like, head over heels. And first thing she said, "Hey, I want to do a show with you." So that shows you, if you look back, like in retrospect, it's not a true intention.
So Jesse, riddle me this. If you were on a networking app and somebody randomly contacted you from America and said, "I want to be on a show with you," whatever would make you agree? Clout chasing? Also, why would you say she didn't have true intentions? Because if she just contacted you and said, "Let's be on a show together," that would be a very true intention. Let's both just get famous together. Let's both just make money together. So where did the fakery come in? I'll tell you, Jesse, where the fakery come in. You guys met on an international dating app, very likely because you wanted to come to America, and then what dropped in your lap? A great opportunity to be in front of the camera, which you lapped up. Don't pretend that Darcey wanted it and you didn't. You both wanted the same thing. You're saying it wasn't a real relationship, but from what I saw, it was a real relationship on Darcey's part, and I think to start off with, from your part, both of you wanted to get the exposure that the show was going to give you. Jesse, you're a gaslighter. So number 3 is quite interesting. As we know, Jesse's already said that he was more or less tricked or coerced, whatever, by Darcey into doing Before the 90 Days. But according to Grazia magazine, Jesse Meester was a micro-celebrity in the Netherlands even before he was on 90 Day Fiance. And the headline of the article reads, "Women regularly offer me money to spend the night with them." And Jesse claims that women from all over the world are willing to pay him for his time and for other things. And the article continues that he's harassed almost daily by women who want nothing but sex. Oh, Jesse, please. And apparently women just can't help themselves when flicking through the photos on his Instagram. Pictures of his flawless body, which apparently are only there to promote his personal training business, literally send women wild. According to him, the attention can be scary. But it really is the last bit of this article that makes me laugh. Apparently, a lesbian couple approached him and wanted him to father their child. The couple followed him on social media and said they admired his combination of dominance and gentleness. He said in the end he decided not to do it, but it was the only such offer he'd ever truly considered. Jesse, you sound like a 17-year-old boy just churning out your fantasy. A couple of lesbians roll up and both of them want to sleep with you. Both of them just want your children because you're so great. I don't believe that any woman would consider you dominant, Jesse. Let's face fact, when Darcey allegedly threw a pair of Louboutins at you, you started crying and called the police. I rather think someone dominant may have been able to handle the situation with a tad more masculinity. Darcey, Darcey, everybody wants me. Jesse's just like a school gate gaslighter. Lie number 3 is nothing but a teenage boy's fantasy. So at number 4, Jesse claims he doesn't watch Before the 90 Days anymore and that he's only kept up to date by people commenting on his social media. Whilst Jesse claims he wants nothing more to do with Darcey, he simply cannot help himself but to needle her and to comment on everything that happens on Before the 90 Days. So the day after Darcey arrived in London and she spent the night with Tom, and as you know, she got a little bit drunk, she passed out in his bed, and apparently she punched him on the nose and gave him a nosebleed in the middle of the night. Here's what petty Jesse decided to post on his Twitter account. An independent woman doesn't need a man to feed her, clothe her, pay her bills, or put a roof over her head. She does those things herself. What she wants is someone to share the ups and downs of life. Someone who makes her a priority, treats her with respect and adds to her happiness, and understands and appreciates her ambitions. And it's almost as if Jess is describing the antithesis of him. But Jesse, why comment if you're not interested? And Jesse, why tell the lie that you no longer watch Before the 90 Days? You know you watch, because there's no way that you're going to pick everything up from just looking at your Twitter feed. Line number 5 concerns Jesse's so-called legal action. So Jesse told us that he had a lawyer involved and was going to be taking Darcey to court for stalking and harassment. Back in August of 2019, Jesse detailed some of the things he went through on account of Darcey on Instagram. And he yet again mentioned the stalking and how his lawyer had to get involved. He's also previously said he was going to take legal action against her, again for stalking. And I put it to you that this is another lie from Jesse, because he gives us absolutely no evidence whatsoever of Darcey's alleged stalking. And in California, stalking is defined as thus: any person who willfully, maliciously and repeatedly follows or harasses another person and who makes a credible threat with the intent to place that person in reasonable fear for his or her safety or the safety of his or her immediate family. Jesse, when has Darcey willfully, maliciously and repeatedly followed or harassed you? If she's texting you in the middle of the night, which I totally believe she is, 1, you block her number, and number 2, you don't respond to her. By you responding and answering questions and entering into a dialogue, it's of course going to make her continue to text. And also, I don't believe for a second that you were ever in fear of your safety, even when she allegedly threw the Louboutins at you. The most that you could possibly say is that Darcey was pestering you, and to call it stalking and to involve a lawyer is again trying to gaslight Darcey and trying to make everybody think that Darcey is massively out of control and is both harmful and distressing to you. Given the level of your interaction with Darcey, there's no way you'd be able to make any stalking charge sick, and any lawyer worth their salt would have told you that. And it's just the case of another fib from Jesse. And of course, who can forget? Where does one usually threaten legal action? On Instagram, of course. It helps everybody to take you seriously. And line number 6 from Jesse concerns Darcey and her business. So Jesse claims that Darcey's business is a fake and that she's a fraud and that she's trying to exaggerate her achievement. Darcey took the opportunity to start her own clothing line when she got onto TV, and along with her sister Stacey, Darcey launched fashion brand House of 11. And Jesse, well, he's trying to create the narrative that because House of 11 has now closed down, it was never a real business and it was always Darcey faking. However, the fashion industry is quite a difficult industry to be in, and House of 11 traded for a couple of years, but Darcey isn't trying to pretend that it's still trading. Darcey isn't trying to pretend that she's making millions from House of 11. So how is it fake? It's just a business that didn't go so well. And Jesse, you might be interested to know that 95% of businesses fail within their first year. And so for Jesse to try and perpetrate the lie that this is all fake and somehow a fraud is again gaslighting, it's again untrue, and it's designed to make everybody think, oh, Darcey was lying to us all. She never had a business at all. It was all a facade. House of 11, although now defunct, was a real fashion brand, and stars such as Nicki Minaj, Demi Lovato and Jessica Alba were all seen wearing House of 11 clothes. Fake Jesse is something like your Twitter account, which calls you an actor, a psychologist, an entrepreneur, and an expert in international coaching and speaking. That Jesse is fake. Completing an undergraduate degree in psychology does not make you a psychologist. And there are many, many more examples of Jesse trying to gaslight and telling fibs about Darcey. And there are many things that we can't know what happened. So for instance, the time when Jesse finished with Darcey and he flew from Amsterdam to New York to tell her the news. And Darcey told producers that after him finishing with her, they'd actually slept together that night. Jesse denied this and said that Darcey wanted to sleep with him, but he refused. And I guess that's one of those things that we'll never know, although I have a sneaking suspicion that it's entirely true. Again, we'll never know if Darcey actually did throw the Louboutins, and even if she did they hit Jesse, or was his wild reaction just a reason for him to be able to call the police and to call law enforcement and to heap as much distress and suffering onto Darcey as he possibly could? So it's up to you to let me know what you think, and I know that lots of you are not Darcey fans, and lots of you think she's her own worst enemy, and I know that Darcey absolutely divides and polarises opinion, so I'm completely prepared to get absolutely rinsed on this one. But you know what? Sometimes opinions are unpopular. All that I ask when we're arguing and debating this point is that everybody is polite to one another. But it's my assertion that Darcey is simply her own worst enemy. So Darcey maybe drinks too much, and Darcey is too over emotional, Darcey is too clingy, but Darcey doesn't do it to the detriment of anybody else. Darcey doesn't do it so that she can paint somebody else in a bad light. Darcey behaves in this way because I think she needs help, and Darcey behaves in this way because she's in many ways vulnerable. And I believe what we saw this season was a damaged Darcey, and yes, she was more than likely damaged before she met Jesse, but he certainly didn't help it, not during the relationship and certainly not afterwards. Jesse says he wants to be left out of Darcey's life and he'd like her to stop talking about him and stop referencing him. So Jesse, you must do the same. Keep Darcey's name out of your mouth and all will be well. Let me know what you guys think. Is Jesse an accelerant to Darcey's madness? Or is Jesse just an innocent party that got caught up in the maelstrom and is just trying to defend himself? Put your comments below and I'll try and answer as many as I can. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter, and it's at Ebird99. You're listening to Ebird Online. Thank you so much for listening. Ciao for now.